to start this video by suggesting that you subscribe, but given the nature and content of the video, you may not want to. No. All joking aside, make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss all the great content that's coming. We've got water cooling builds, we've got home automation, technology, gaming, you name it, it's coming up. And click the bell icon so you don't miss any of the notifications. So this was kind of inevitable. Been water cooling for a number of years now, and I'm not going to go out there and say that we've been leak free. We've definitely had leaks in the past. Those have predominantly been when we've been assembling the system and you do a test run of the pumps, which you need to do anyway. You need to sort of fill your reservoirs and kind of prime your loop while the system is powered down. That's a standard thing to do. I've got a ton of videos explaining how to do that. And typically conventional wisdom is that you should then run that pump for 24-ish hours. I don't personally run mine probably anywhere near as long as that. I probably run mine for, if I'm being perfectly honest, probably about 20 minutes at best. That I've typically found is good enough to find most leaks. And it's always in the O-rings. It's always in the O-rings of the fittings in particular. Particularly I find when you've dismantled a loop and you've put it back together, those O-rings get kind of brittle and dry. And I think there are kind of like oils and sort of greases you can put on those O-rings to stop them from doing that. But I find it much easier just to buy a fresh pack of O-rings and just replace them. So typically you find these leaks when the system's powered down and you've just got the pump running. This is the first time I've had a leak in all of the time that I've been water cooling while the system is powered up. Now it's quite interesting how I discovered it, because it's about a month since I actually put this loop together. There was no sign of it until, I would say, honestly speaking, probably about a week ago. And that demonstrated itself as the fluid in the reservoir just dropping a little bit, probably I would say 7 millimeters, certainly a bit less than a centimetre. You do typically get that when you're first running loops. There's air trapped in there, and as the loop circulates, as the pump, should I say, circulates the water round, then that air moves its way around the system, typically finds itself at the top of the radiator, and yeah, it appears like the fluid's dropping. It's not actually dropping, it's just the air working its way back out. So initially I assumed it was that, kept topping it up. It's usual to do that 2 or 3 times. It seemed a bit odd that it was a full month since I put the loop together, but then after about the 5th or the 6th time, I started thinking to myself, well, that doesn't seem right now at all. The air really should have worked its way out. I'll check that at the weekend. I think I got home on, I think it was Wednesday evening, got home. I'll just top it up a little bit for this evening, and then I'll dismantle the thing at the weekend and work out what's going on. Well, I topped it up. And what I'm going to describe to you now actually now defies the laws of physics, in my opinion, because I topped it up and then the fluid immediately dropped. I didn't catch that on film because I wasn't expecting it to happen. It immediately dropped, but it only dropped back down to the level that it was. I immediately then noticed a load of fluid pouring out of the actual pump itself. So it wasn't a leak actually within the loop. It was actually leaking out of where the pump is put into the acetal top that sits on top of it at the bottom of the reservoir. It was actually pouring out of the lock ring segment there, and literally poured out and then immediately stopped. Now clearly that's where the leak was. A bunch of my friends and I are kind of speculating as to why it did that. We think it may be something to do with the pressure in the system, sort of sustaining it at a particular level, but that kind of also doesn't make sense. If there's a leak, it's fundamentally leaking. It should leak all of the time, not leak a bit and then stop, which is what it did. It leaked a bit and then stopped. So of course I immediately flew into action. I've got a powered up, rather expensive system with a bunch of leaking fluid, albeit the reservoir's off to the side, so it didn't actually get anything on the electronics themselves. Rapidly dismantled this loop, faster than I think I have ever dismantled a loop ever in my life. So rapid, in fact, that I got my hands absolutely covered in the fluid. It's the first time I've really had any significant contact with that. I have no idea what they put in that stuff, but it stained my hands blue. My hands were bloody glowing in the dark because it's UV reactive fluid and it's not that old. So I have no idea what they stained that fluid with, but it really, I mean, it was a good three-ish days before I actually got the pinky, fleshy complexion back to my hands. So rapidly dismantled the pump. Was expecting to find it has a big gasket O-ring that sits around the pump where the pump makes a connection to the acetal top. I was expecting to find that nicked or broken, snapped or something like that, but much to my surprise, it was in pretty good condition. And not only was it in good condition, it was still quite supple and quite springy as a material, which is what you want them to be to make that watertight seal. I did have to get the pump out and I had to clean that off because obviously that is an electronics component and it got absolutely drenched in the fluid. I was a little bit concerned that pump would be done for. Took the whole reservoir off of the PC, checked the whole thing over, and guys, it's inexplicable. Unfortunately, I'm not going to sit here and give you some great gems of wisdom as to what happened and to what avoid in the future. I had taken the pump apart to clean it the last time I changed the loop, but so far as I can see was reassembled properly and none of the parts were defective. And as I say, this really odd behaviour that feels like it kind of defies the laws of physics. Fluid dropping, it's clearly leaking, but then it dropped a little bit and then just immediately stopped. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense anyway as I understand it to be. So I cleaned all of the stuff. I decided that we'd reassemble the loop carefully, put the pump and the acetal top all back together, screwed it all back together, reassembled the loop, and of course you can imagine we went for a hell of a lot more than a 20-minute test run on the loop this time. Put white paper towels down, which are really great, you know, where you've got the blue coloured fluid. If even the tiniest little drop comes out, you're going to notice it on a white paper towel. Ran it for a good few hours and absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. The pump runs like a dream. The same gasket O-ring went back into the bottom. And I've had the system back up and running now Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday today. 5 days, so the best part of a week. Absolutely no problems at all. And just to add to the mystery, all of my temperatures have dropped. Well, the CPU temperatures have dropped because it was the CPU loop that was leaking, and I had been complaining to my partner about why the Threadripper CPU had been running so hot. So we've got a 1950X in here, which is a hot CPU. You know, it's got a massive, great, bloody integrated heat spreader on it. It's I can't remember its exact TDP off the top of my head, but it's well over 100 as I recall. You know, it's a hot chip. Might be 95. Don't hold me to that. Can't remember the exact number. But inexplicably, and again, that makes no sense because the loop was fundamentally working. Again, the only kind of explanation that I can get into is that if that motor was somehow introducing heat into the loop because of... And what I'm assuming is that gasket was just not sealed in there properly. It makes absolutely no sense. I can't explain it, guys. I can't explain it. I think really it's just one to chalk up to experience and really just to reaffirm the message that even if you've run your loop for 24 hours straight, and I can tell you guys, that would run for a hell of a lot more. I mean, this computer runs 24/7 pretty much every day. It's very rare I shut the thing down. I've been running like that for a month before this problem demonstrated itself. It really, really bears sense, I think, just to keep an eye on your loops indefinitely. Make sure that you perform regular maintenance on them, putting cleaning fluids through them. You regularly check. You know, just run your fingers round the fittings where the O-rings are, etc., and just keep an eye on the loop. So there we go, guys. Kind of pointless random video, but sharing an experience that I've had. It's Christmas Eve today, so I'd love to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Sincerely, thank you all for subscribing. It's much appreciated. I hope you enjoy the content. I hope you're all very well wherever in the world you are. Please like and share this video, and I will see you in my next one.